the next phase. We did our quiet time, we did our moment of meditation, and you see that it is always different because your mind might not be like always exactly in the same place. So you might connect today really well with your stillness, while it didn't work yesterday or something. There's a lot of variety in it, and this is all right. It is all part of it. Like, you cannot be in another place than you find yourself, than you are in the moment, and that always looks a certain way, and you can't tell how that will be tomorrow. It is always new, that's for sure. So today, like I said, I want to look at the idea of burden. My burden is light in the incorruptible body, and there's a reason for that I choose to do that. So in recognizing, say, the incorruptible body, the one body that does not change and that does not end, and that is always present, is your natural inheritance with a capital N, natural. Like, it is so a part of you, and you might say, like, well, I'm not sure if I experienced that. Well, then at least your yearning for it is present with you. Like, you want to connect with that. That's why it is a very, say, appealing or attractive expression or idea. But we're not going to stay there. So it's like we are going to use the burden idea. So my burden is light. What does that mean? Because it has a message that is really useful in the practice of coming to your eternal body, so to speak, to recognize your salvation and the light that you are. That's where this is really helpful for. So the first references are from A Course in Miracles that I say collected. One of them is because you want to know the truth behind these expressions. Like, you might have read my yoke is easy and my burden is light in Matthew 11. You might have read it once or who knows how many times in the Bible, in the New Testament, and it is a kind of a fascinating expression. But what does it actually mean? It feels good that it's light, it's not heavy. Like, if it would be like my burden is heavy, then it would not be that attractive. But does that change the experience of your own idea about yourself, or about your burden that you carry with you? I don't know. So that's say part 3 of today in this meeting. So part 2, where we're entering into now, is this really like looking at the pure message behind these words. And who to ask but Jesus, so to speak. So Jesus is expressing it in A Course in Miracles. Let me see if I can find it just like that. I got a couple of these ready to go, as you can see. Yeah, here. This was the one I was looking for. So this is Matthew 11. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. So Jesus is expressing himself. And in the Course in Miracles, he writes this, like, remember that yoke, like, means joined together, like the yoke on your back in the earlier days, where people are actually carrying water or whatever they carried with like a beam on their back, on both sides, a load, like a burden. So it's joined together. The yoke is then the joining together of these two. And then burden, you would say, like, that's the load that you carry with you, or this. But Jesus expresses it as this. Like burden means message. So it joined together, and then burden means message. My yoke is easy and my message is light. My yoke, my joined together is easy and my burden is light. My message is light. So you could say, and I'll come back to you, it's like you could say, my message is light. I'm demonstrating light in that my yoke is easy. My connection, there's the only place really where I can connect with you is in light. Like I can try to physically connect with you by shaking hands, but it doesn't mean that we are actually communicating. Something is happening, sure. But here it's like coming into your recognition of your connectedness, like in my connectedness with you, in my recognition of you, I see that my message is light. I'm starting to communicate light, because light communicates in our minds. Like if I extend my light to you in my recognition of our togetherness, it becomes obvious that communicates. You can't explain it, but it's actually happening. So you might have had a fresh experience when we were together in France. Like, yes, absolutely. So the light communicates. That's our device, like our communication device is light. That's a medium. That is, yeah, all of that. And that is really beautiful to see that at work. So let the light do the work. The words that are being used are not going to do that. Like they can help to convey it or to help you demonstrate it, but in the end it is the light that does the communication. That is what communication is. So that sounds a bit difficult maybe if you hear it like this, but it will become clear in the steps, in the ideas that are going to be shared. I will not use the word step all the time. we keep making steps like along the way. That's wonderful, absolutely. So this is a journey, so that's why we take steps. But so light communicates. So that there are a couple of things that are that is really interesting to me, because you want to come in touch with this message, with the light message that joins together. You want to learn how to do that, or how to have that back into your consciousness. Like, how does that actually work? Now there are say a couple of things that are interesting in that. So I'll put up my my little cards here. That's one we come to. So you offered me your saviorship and I accepted. Now this is a huge expression, and I'm going to take a look at it with you. You offered me your saviorship and I accepted. And you say, what does that have to do with this? What does that have to do with the idea of light and burden and message and joining? Everything. This has to do everything with that. Like the whole thing is, and this is what we shared in the prayer too, is like the whole thing is, are you allowing your brother, so to speak, to be your savior? Are you allowing me to be your savior? Are you allowing the other guy to be your savior? Because in his gentleness, there's something there for you that actually will set you free. And so this is, of course, like a really huge lesson, if you want. It is a huge lesson because it has everything to do with forgiveness and recognizing what actually is going on here. Seeing that you are, say, the cause of what you're seeing, like it starts all here. I'm the one seeing everything. So if this is clear in my mind, just like we showed the other time that we were together, Like if my mirror is clean and the light shines through my mind, I see that reflected in everything, and I can easily recognize you as my savior. I join with you in that and recognize the light in you. So, and now this is like allowing someone be your savior sounds like a huge story or something, but that's actually not true. So the thing that I want to express to you is this: like, if I drop my attack thoughts, my ways of establishing myself as this separate entity that needs to defend itself, if I drop that, then you will see what value your brother has for you. And when I say brother, I mean, like, it's not gender related whatsoever. Like, that is the beauty of it. So in your vulnerability, it is easy to accept anyone as your savior. Not as a victim, not as like, okay, please help me or this or that. No, this has everything to do with you allowing yourself to be vulnerable and open, and seeing that in say focusing on someone's gentleness more than anything, you will have a way to connect and to recognize that you can have a moment of oneness, of recognition, a holy instant, of communication, like messages, light, joining together, a holy instant, yes. So how does that happen then? How does that happen then? So I looked at this, and then you see sometimes in my say healing practice, I can say, like in my healing practice, people ask me, like, I want an appointment, I want to meet with you, and I want this and this and this, and we do it like that because otherwise I want to have it on my terms, more or less. Like, that's what some say. It's like, I want it this way because that's the best way. I want it silent, I want this, I want that, whatever the way is. And then you might think now, like, so what does that have to do with anything? Like, well, say the whole thing about receiving you as my savior is opening myself up to allow that to occur. And that means I have to let go of my terms. I have to let go of the way it should come to me, the way that should look, the time that should take place, and the result that it should give me. You know, it's like openness, openness, openness. All these terms that you set are just, say, literally making it impossible for you to let me be your savior, or to let anyone be your savior. You're holding on to, this is the way it should come to me, that way, that way, that way. Now I'm frustrated because it doesn't work. So I find someone else where I can do this with, or who knows what it is. Like, that's not too interesting to me, but it's like the whole idea of saviorship is not depending on anything else, but are you open to receive this from anyone without any terms, you know, completely free to just simply join. All your conditions out of the way, all your, it's like, it has to be like this, all that is gone. Now I'm open to join with you, like completely, with no exception, with no limitation, allowing you to be my savior. It's like, I'm healed by your happiness, you are healed by my happiness. So we have a common interest in that sense. We have a common interest. But even that you can forget. You don't even have to do it for that reason at all. But to be aware that you're setting terms, in fact, to avoid having your brother be your savior is just a delay. That's all. So don't set terms for it. You don't have to do that. Like you would miss the opportunity to join in a holy instant. See, and how many experiences do you need to come to the recognition that you are saved? Like, in fact, only one. You only need it once, open and complete, in order for you to recognize, oh yes, indeed, that is how that works. And I'm so happy that that occurred. I see the valuelessness of my terms. Like, no way can I determine how this should come to me. So that is really great. So that's a great gift, I can tell you that. And so other parts in this, because I've this lot of ideas I would love to share with you. So if I go too fast, just let me know. Write me a text or something. Yeah, drop a line in the chat. I might read it if I have time for it. Okay, so this is great. And then so I have some more sheets I would love to share. I did my homework here. You offered me your saviorship and I accepted. So that is an incredible gift. And it does not matter who that you is. You offered me your saviorship. Like, it doesn't matter who that is. Yeah. Okay, so, oh wait, here's the terms. Yeah, here. I knew that Christ was in me somewhere, but I couldn't find him because he was only available to me under terms of God, not my own terms. As long as I kept setting the terms, I couldn't see the Christ. Well, that's literally how it is. So that's why it's good to recognize this. As long as I kept setting the terms, I couldn't see the Christ. So who does the salvation of the world depend on? So now we come to the idea of burden too. Like, who does the salvation of the world depend on? Is it depending on your partner? Is it depending on your best friend? Is it depending on your bank account? Is it depending on the government or the relationship between countries? Where is that depending on? Where is my salvation depending on? So after a long and meaningless journey, you might end up at, say, at the tip of your nose, like I pointed out the other moment. Like, it is found right here. So now, the salvation, say, that depends on me, because I have to recognize that this is coming from me to me. I send it out and it comes back to me, because there is literally nothing else that can do that. So that realization, we've repeated this many times, but this realization is essential, because now you can become completely aware of the burden that you're carrying. Like, you have this whole load of ideas that you carry with you, and you have thrown this away, like, to others and to government and to this and to that, like all this activity of projecting, but it came back to you. So now you're here with this load. You accept your responsibility for, and do you need to do that forever? No. So for one moment, you're actually going to take that, say, which is really like a burden. You could see it like that. It's like a burden, something you carry with you, a load, heavy load of responsibility for all this stuff. Like, in recognizing, coming to the recognition of your incorruptible body, which is way beyond the form, you enter here, and that is you sit with your responsibility. You are willing to accept it. You know, you're willing to accept it. Like, oh yeah, it all starts here. No, I know it starts with me. So that's my only hope of change too. But I don't know how to change this. Like, I don't know what to do with it. So the interesting thing then is what to do with this burden. You know, what to do with this burden. What can I possibly do with that in order to get rid of it? Because I can take responsibility for it, but I cannot keep carrying it around forever. So what are we doing with that? So let me see if I can find the answer, if it's here or maybe later. Oh, yeah, you might end up with this line. God, I certainly appreciate it if you would take this burden away from me. That would be great if you would do that. So is the question then is God going to take this burden away from me? You know, it's like, oh yeah, that's where God is for, right? So he takes away the burden. So I'm free. See, and here's the interesting, say, transformational pivot point where we're entering into. So you're here with your truckload of burden. You don't know what to do with it. You hope that God is going to take it from you. And you read the Bible, you read the New Testament, you went through the whole of, say, Matthew or whatever ever was before the crucifixion, like we were busy doing so, say, before Easter. We were looking at that, like crucifixion. But here we are, sitting in the garden with Jesus. He's praying to his God and asking, to take his cup away, so to speak, to take his burden. And his fellow disciples fall asleep. Like, it's a bit messy at that point. And so did God take his burden away? Did God do that? Is there a God that takes away the burden? Now this is really interesting, isn't it? Like, you can pray to God, it's like, can you please take this away from me because I don't know what to do with it? Like, will God recognize your burden and take it away? Like, is God anyway seeing it? Does he know about your human tragedies? Does he know about this place, or that you call my world? Does he know about it? See, and here's a great discovery to be made, because you know the steps in the here we go again. You know the steps to the awakening. You know how to go through that as an conceptual idea about awakening. You know, you've read it all. I've seen it all. I've watched sufficient videos about it, so I should be able to do this now. But then it doesn't seem to change. Then it doesn't seem to work. Whatever I try, it doesn't seem to be taken away from me. I still carry it around. So now what? What is this? Like, maybe I don't set the right terms for it, or maybe I don't do this or don't do that. You might end up with some self-doubt. So the whole idea behind this, which is also the end, say, of you carrying the burden, is in fact to give yourself the opportunity to let this burden literally cave in on you, that it becomes so heavy that you don't know what to do with it, and to give it away to Spirit. Like, give it completely away to Spirit. Because God doesn't know about it. Spirit is your help here. So you give it away to Spirit. And allow yourself, in fact, to be born again. Because there's literally no way that you can take your whole conceptual bunch of burden, your whole conceptual, human conceptual burden, you cannot take that into the kingdom. So there's a transition, just like we had the other day, the equation on the board, like on the whiteboard, the equation, like interesting equation, then a miracle happened, and then there's the answer. So this is a bit like that. It's like here, this is my conceptual impossibility of myself as a human being, and I want to go there. I want to go to heaven. I know there's a place for me there, but how do I get into that? So this whole burden thing will have to collapse in on you, like allowing that to cave in on you. At the same time, you give it away to Spirit for it to be transformed into something useful. And you being born again, say reborn, it's a matter of rebirth into a new you that has nothing to do with what happened before, and that is, say, free of this burden. But it is literally like you awaken to your Christ mind. You awaken to your light, to your connectedness, to your communication with the universe. Okay, so there's one expression that I just saw passing too that has to do with that too. So I'm sharing that with you. The light that joins you shines throughout the universe. So this is in the moment that you allow this collapse to occur, and you hand it over to Spirit. Like, I cannot do this any longer. I'm handing it all over now completely. Then you start to experience light and communication. And the light that joins you shines throughout the universe. It's like you're one with all of that. This is you in your new configuration of yourself. So let me see if I forget. This is also beautiful. Joy is unlimited because each shining thought of love extends its being and creates more of itself. See, this is you as an awakened you as your Christ. Joy is unlimited because each shining thought of love extends its being and creates more of itself. So I'm sharing this, and say we will have a break in a moment. So it's like I'm sharing this because, see, if I put these aspects, just share these aspects of it with you, you might not see the common denominator in it. So it's like the light and love, the extension, the recognition of your connectedness is what binds, what literally communicates, but also what shines throughout the universe. Now you seem to be in front of an impossible job, like carrying this burden, dropping the burden into the arms of Spirit, so to speak, and allowing yourself to collapse into it with that. Being reborn in a new moment where you experience yourself as the light that you are, shining with every thought of love throughout the universe. That's, if I put it in words, it doesn't tell you completely what it is. So it is simpler than you think. This is simpler than you think, and can be experienced. It's like immediately. So we're going to take a look at that in the second part too, by becoming very practical, and in fact trying to do something with this burden that you might carry with you. So